Today, I'm going to explain an action thriller movie called Breathe. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie opens in Brooklyn, New York in the year 2039, where the world as we used to know has changed. There's not a single blade of greenery anywhere, which has had a devastating effect on the Earth's atmosphere. Oxygen levels have dropped so drastically that our planet is barely habitable. Cities have become wastelands, and only a few people are left around the globe. Those who are still surviving in this harsh climate can only do so by using masks connected to oxygen tanks. Currently, mechanical engineer Darius has left his family bunker to clean the solar panels that are the main source of electricity. His father is also out visiting a nearby bookstore in hopes of getting some new reading material for his granddaughter. The old man is casually walking around on the second floor when he steps on a rotten wood panel and falls through the floor. Unfortunately, he is left hanging upside down from the ceiling, which damages his oxygen pack, and he immediately starts to suffocate. Nearby, Darius hears the pleas for help through his intercom device and runs to the bookstore. He desperately tries to release his father from the hole, but the old man's leg is stuck firmly. Darius then rushes upstairs and eventually manages to free his father, but it is too late. The old man has passed away due to the critical lack of oxygen. After a while, a devastated Darius returns to the bunker where he shares the bad news with his wife Maya and their daughter Zora. This hits everyone hard, especially young Zora, who loved her grandfather very much. We also get a glimpse into the family's life in this apocalyptic time. Thanks to Darius' engineering knowledge and Maya's farming experience, the bunker has enough oxygen and plants to keep a decently comfortable life. Darius then announces that he wants to bury his father next to his mother, whose grave is in a cemetery about 5 miles away. Zora is against the idea because of the obvious risks involved in the journey, but Darius points out that he will be safe as they haven't seen anyone in 3 years. In the evening, after the others fall asleep, Darius does routine maintenance on the machine that monitors various vital stats inside the bunker. He discovers that their remaining oxygen supply will only last for the next 2 months. The computer even flashes a warning that warns the air purification system has been compromised, leaving Darius with a hard choice to make. The next morning, he says goodbye to Zora and gives her the book her grandfather had picked up before he died. She then watches as her father leaves with the body on the security camera. As the days pass by, Zora uses the radio to try to reach Darius. She shares random stories like the fact that he predicted the oxygen shortage way before it actually happened. Nobody believed him, but at least he was wise enough to build this bunker just before the catastrophe struck. Unfortunately, Darius never answers, and soon, 5 months pass without any news from him. Maya and Zora try their best to survive on their own now. They leave the bunker regularly and keep up with the maintenance of the several devices inside. They always make sure to bring a gun when they go out, but Zora, being a teenager, sometimes wanders off in search of new clothes. Even with it being perfectly safe to go outside, I am too lazy to do that. Luckily, the bunker has a very thick steel door and a password lock, ensuring their safety for the time being. They keep each other company as much as they can, but in quiet moments, Darius' absence is very obvious. Zora nonetheless never gives up and continues to send messages through the radio, talking about family memories from before the apocalypse. Maya doesn't give up either and often goes outside to plant seeds, hoping one day something will eventually sprout out. She also runs fake errors on the computer to teach Zora how to fix any issues they may come across. Sometimes, the teenager expresses her desire to go out and look for her father, but Maya reminds her of previous failed attempts and forbids her from leaving. This often causes friction between the mother and daughter. One afternoon, the duo is outside after finishing maintenance when suddenly, they see 2 people approaching with a shopping cart. The mother and daughter immediately run to hide behind an old car and watch as the strangers try to enter the bunker. Although they're unsuccessful, Maya and Zora find it suspicious that the strangers knew exactly what door to target. At that moment, one of the strangers named Tess hears a noise and cautiously checks around with her weapon drawn. Her partner, Lucas, on the other hand, climbs to the roof to search for other entrances. Tess carefully approaches the car but doesn't find the source of the noise. Suddenly, she hears Lucas trying to warn her of something on the radio, but it's too late. Maya and Zora tackle her to the ground and rush inside the bunker. They quickly close the door before the strangers can follow them. Maya then gets on the bunker's security communication device and demands an explanation. Tess swears they mean no harm and reveals that she and Lucas live in a bomb shelter outside Philadelphia with 25 other people. Their air filtration system recently started failing, so they traveled for 3 days to find Darius. Tess claims to be a physicist who worked with him at the university. Now, she only wants to take a look at the system he created to copy it. Tess even knows Zora and Maya's names, but they still don't trust her because Darius never mentioned her. Suddenly, Zora mutes the mic and starts fighting with her mother over how to proceed. The teenager doesn't want the people at the shelter to die, but Maya doesn't think the shelter even exists in the first place. After lots of arguing, Zora convinces her mom to help because if Tess can truly copy Darius' technology, they could bring big changes to the world. Maya thus tells the two strangers to leave their weapons by the door and wait on their knees. She then comes out with her gun drawing and ties up both of them. Next, Maya checks for any hidden weapons before guiding Tess toward the shelter. But just as they're about to enter, a third stranger named Mika comes out of hiding and tells them to stop. Maya immediately opens fire while her daughter also comes out and begins shooting. An injured Mika then lunges forward and tackles the teenager into the bunker. Maya uses this opportunity to run inside and close the door, leaving Tess and Lucas outside. Once they are inside, the mother and daughter tie Mika in the living room. Maya then uses the comms to talk to Tess, who explains this is just a misunderstanding. She adds that Mika is her lookout, so when he saw her tied up and being taken away, he thought she was in danger. However, Maya doesn't believe anything she says and tells her to leave. Tess is enraged by the response, so she suddenly changes her tone and announces that she'll get the machine no matter what it takes. Armed with a hidden pocket knife, she then releases herself and Lucas before boldly announcing that they will drill in through the door. Inside, Maya and Zora take care of Mika's wound while still arguing if the story is real or not. Their conversation is interrupted when the alarm suddenly goes off and computer announces the system is compromised. The mother and daughter try to look at the security camera, but Tess has covered it with tape. She's also retrieving the weapon Mika drops, while Lucas is using a drill to bring the bunker door down. At this critical moment, Zora gets an idea. She grabs a few mechanical pieces and puts them together to make a little contraption. She then places it against the door and quickly activates it. This sends an electromagnetic pulse through the metallic door and breaks the drill outside. Tess is livid that her initial plan has failed, but she refuses to give up. She climbs to the roof and injects carbon dioxide into the bunker, bringing the oxygen levels severely down. As the alarm goes off, Zora and Maya rush to put on their masks. The latter leaves to take care of the problem, and the teenager stays to keep Mika at gunpoint. But she feels uncomfortable when he starts talking about his young daughter. After lots of hesitation, she decides to share a mask with him as long as he answers her questions. Mika swears they didn't kill Darius and that Tess truly knew him before the apocalypse. Outside, Lucas is supposed to wait by the door to attack, but he gets distracted when he sees something in a nearby garage. He drags Tess there, but before they can enter, the emergency lock kicks in. At that moment, Maya gets on the roof and opens fire, forcing them to hide for safety. But then, the duo also comes up with a plan, and Tess starts fighting back while Lucas runs toward the bunker. Back inside, the air slowly becomes clear again, and they can drop the masks. Mika sees that his captor is distracted Lucas, then abruptly jumps her from behind, and the two get into a fight in the ensuing skirmish. Maya gets trapped in an air vent and fractures her leg. Inside the bunker, Mika manages to free himself and springs a surprise attack on Zora. He then ties her up at gunpoint, but by this time, he has lost a lot of blood. Before Mika can take further action, he feels dizzy and falls dead on the floor. Minutes later, the two remaining strangers uncover the camera while holding Maya hostage. They threaten to shoot her if the teenager doesn't open the door. Unbeknownst to them, the security microphone is still muted, and Zora has no way to explain herself. Thankfully, she notices Mika's radio lying nearby and drags it by using her legs. Zora then manages to establish communication with the outsiders and tells them everything that has happened in the bunker. Enraged, Tess demands Maya open the door from the outside, but the latter reveals that a special badge together with a code is needed to do so. She has forgotten the badge inside, but there's another one, which is slightly far from where they are currently. Maya adds that she has a working car, and Tess eventually agrees to leave with her while Lucas stays to keep watch. During the ride, Maya explains that they're going to find Darius. It turns out that after he left to bury his dad, Maya found a note in which he explained that the machine couldn't keep the air clean for 3 people anymore. But with only 2 residents, there would be more time for Zora and Maya to figure out how to grow the plant seeds. This means Darius is truly dead, and he didn't return to the bunker on purpose. A few hours later, Maya locates his body and takes a moment to grieve before finding the badge. The duo is now ready to head back, but just then, the car runs out of power. Tess asks for the badge as she points out Maya can barely move with her broken leg. There's no way she'll survive a trip back on foot with such an injury. Tess confesses that she also used to have a daughter and promises to take good care of Zora. These words finally convince Maya, and she gives her the badge without any further arguments. Following this, Tess starts running back and eventually finds a bicycle in the middle of the city. She soon reaches her destination and enters the bunker with Lucas seconds before they run out of air. Once they are inside, Zora demands to know where Maya is, so Tess tells her everything, including her father's sacrifice. But Lucas is in no mood for chit-chat, and he threatens Tess to immediately start working on the machine with a drill. Shortly after, she opens a panel in Darius' invention and finds a very advanced system. She dwells on it for a while, but eventually admits that she doesn't understand enough to recreate it. Unfortunately, this sends Lucas over the edge, and he ends up shooting Tess on the spot. He then turns his attention towards Zora and orders her to teach him how to use it. Elsewhere, Maya sits in the car while thinking about her family. She notices she only has 21% of oxygen left and concludes nobody will come for her before it runs out. Everything looks bleak until her eyes fall on a little plant starting to grow out. Maya then takes a gamble and removes her mask for a second. To her surprise, the air feels like it is getting cleaner, filling her with a renewed hope. Elsewhere, Lucas throws the dead bodies out to get rid of the smell. Zora chastises for staying here instead of going back to help his shelter, but he simply doesn't care. At this moment, the alarm goes off, announcing a problem with the cables. Lucas then untees Zora so she can take care of it, but only gives her just enough oxygen to prevent her from escaping. Shortly after, she gets to the roof and puts the cables back together, only to discover it was Maya who messed with them. After a warm reunion with her mother, Zora tries to get back inside, but Lucas won't open the door because he wants to see the teenagers suffer. He doesn't realize that this only gives the mother and daughter enough time to hatch a plan. Sometime later, the bunker's alarm goes off again, so Lucas comes out and sees Zora lying unconscious on the ground. He throws dirt at her and starts spraying, but is suddenly ambushed by Maya. The teenager also gets up, and they run back to the bunker, but Lucas gathers all his energy and follows them in. He passes through the first door and tackles them to get through the second, causing the bad air to get into the shelter. He then demands oxygen while threatening the women with his weapon. However, Zora points out that if he shoots, he'll cause an explosion. Lucas orders them to fix the problem, but instead, Zora and Maya go outside and close the doors, leaving him alone inside. Now that Lucas is alone and the oxygen is slowly running out, he realizes that he's going to suffer a slow death. He thus shoots his weapon, and the resulting explosion kills him. Outside, Maya and Zora are able to survive thanks to the oxygen masks. They escape in the car that Maya had charged up when she came back to the bunker earlier. They then recall Tessa's story about the shelter and zoom through the city to reach the safe haven. Unfortunately, the doors are closed, and they pass out on the stairs moments later. After a long while, Maja wakes up and is shocked to see herself clean and rested. Turns out, the people from the shelter heard the mother and daughter approaching and rescued them. Nearby, Zora is sharing the knowledge about her father's machine with the technicians of the shelter. The mother and daughter then promise to work together with the rest of survivors in planting the new seeds and bringing back vegetation to the world.